Breaking news, everybody. If you haven't heard, you're about to hear. It's crazy. Conor McGregor is not fighting Michael Chandler after all. 2 years of waiting, 2 years of anticipation, a whole tough finale series for Michael Chandler. For Conor McGregor, he has went through two tough finales. Well, not finales, but seasons. So Conor was supposed to fight Uriah Faber when he was a featherweight, and Uriah Faber was a bantamweight. In case you guys don't know, they were supposed to clash at the end of the first tough. I believe it was tough season 22 or 21, 21 or 22. One of those two. So now that we're all the way down the line, and all these years later, 7, 8, 9 years later, Conor McGregor has yet to do another tough. And then, boom, he does one last year in 2023, and he's supposed to fight Michael Chandler. A year later, a year and a half later, we come to find out that he's not fighting Michael Chandler after all. Michael Chandler will be fighting Charles Oliveira. The champ has a name, and the name is Charles Oliveira. So, with Charles Oliveira coming back into the picture, and Dana White saying right out of the horse's mouth, this is a number one contender fight. So, if this is a number one contender fight, what's up with the Conor situation? All right, let me break it down for you real quick. So, a lot of people speculating, a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of people on the internet speculating a whole lot of nonsense. Okay, I'm gonna break it down into two pieces real quick. One, Conor McGregor. Two, UFC. Okay, whenever a fighter, over here, comes to the end of their contract with the UFC, I'm speaking on a specific organization because this has happened time and time again. Whether the person is easy to work with in the beginning and then they become hard to work with at the end, or if they, because the only way you become a star is if you can work with the UFC. You got to be able to work with your boss. If you can't work with your boss, there's no reason to be working with him, working for him, or doing any of that stuff. So Conor McGregor was easy to work with in the beginning, and now at the end, he's still easy to work with, but the UFC is deeming him not easy to work with, okay? Because he's got a lot of stuff. BKFC is a part owner in that. That's a massive deal. That just came out in 2018, and he's trying to strap it to his back and send it to space on a rocket ship, right? That was his words. So if he's trying to do that, plus trying to fight, the UFC sees that and they're like, hold on a second. You pulled out because of your toe. And they already have from now until February 8th. I don't know if y'all seen that clip. I might be able to pop it in here. Maybe. We'll see. But if I do pop it in here, you'll be able to see Dana White says that they have it all the way out until February 8th, right there in the war room, right up against the wall. I believe he says there's a black screen covering it. He gets interviewed by somebody. I think uh Robbie from Barstool. Shout out Robbie from Barstool. Mom in the basement. My mom's basement podcast or whatever that is. But his YouTube channel. Shout out to him. But I believe that's the clip. But anyways, besides that, so Michael Chandler's fighting Charles Oliveira and Conor McGregor is out. And they got all the way from now until, obviously UFC 306 that just happened this past weekend. Sean O'Malley losing all 5 rounds, by the way, all the way to February 8th of 2025. So if they have all of those dates booked up, and Dana White saying that Conor's going to fight in January, Michael Chandler already has booked. Conor's not going to fight Michael Chandler if he loses to Charles Oliveira. It's not going to happen. So while everybody's like, oh, Conor's not fighting. Oh, Michael Chandler's fighting this guy. Nobody's ever thought about, we're getting sidetracked a little bit, but nobody's ever thought about the fact that Conor wouldn't fight Michael Chandler. If Michael Chandler goes and loses again in this rematch, he will not be fighting Conor McGregor. I promise you that. And if he does, it's because the UFC is forcing Conor. Now we're going to get back to the contract situation. Conor's over here, the UFC is over here. Conor's on his last two fights. So now the UFC sees all of that. They got their dates laid out all the way to February 8th, the whole shebang. Okay. Now, they want to take their new rights deal into 2025. So if they take their new rights deal into 2025, then they can say, hey, we got Conor McGregor for two fights, not just one. That's a big deal. You got Conor for two fights? Damn, that's 2 years. You're telling me 600 fighters on the roster, all these champions that needed to be defending their title. And like, I'm just saying, yeah, Johnny Jones, you know, Tom Aspinall's in the wing. Just saying, an interim title holder should not have to defend his belt twice, while the regular champ defends it once, if that. Just saying, putting that out there. But besides the point, Conor McGregor. If UFC already has their dates laid out, where does Conor fit in the picture? He doesn't have a fight. Sounds like Justin Gaethje is going to be fighting anybody and everybody he can get his hands on, and it's probably going to be Dustin Poirier. If I'm being honest, I know it took him 5 years to get his rematch, and it's not taking Dustin Poirier that long, but that's just because the stars are aligning for those two to fight each other again. Dustin coming off a loss from the world title fight, and then Justin coming off the fight from Max Holloway beating him. Max Holloway dropped back down to 145, going up against Ilia Topuria. So with Conor in the wings and Michael Chandler having a fight booked November 11th, Madison Square Garden, 5-round co-main event under John Jones and Stipe Miocic. You're gonna win that fight, turn right around and fight January 2 months later. No, let's be honest. They already have the fights that they're going to go happen in 2025, trying to take their new rights deal into 2025, and they are trying to bring Conor McGregor with them. Okay. Conor McGregor has two fights on his contract. Conor McGregor is trying to get out of his contract, not necessarily get out of the UFC. Okay. There's nothing that's clarifying that Conor's trying to get out of the UFC. Okay. So he's trying to get out of this contract with the UFC. Let's be clear. Okay. He could sign, you know, a deal with the UFC where he competes in his own organization. It's his. He owns it. He's part owner. He owns it. He could compete in his organization. That's be his bargain if they want to resign him. Normally they resign you for like a 6-fight, 8-fight deal. But now they can resign him for a four-fight deal and let him do a couple fights over here. Or Conor just wants to get out of his contract and be McGregor Sports Entertainment after all. Just like Floyd made Mayweather Promotions, Conor has his own thing going on ever since them two had clashed, I believe, back in 2018. So now that you know the whole layout, Michael Chandler is going to fight Charles Oliveira, and then whoever wins out of that will fight the champion. The champion is probably going to be fighting in December. And it's going to be Islam, the champ, versus Arman Sarukian. And that's just point blank and simple. Now we got the number one contender fight, and then they're probably going to do Justin and Dustin again, trilogy, to settle that score because they're 1-1. So they got to settle that. So that's an easy settle that score. Then we got number one contender fight, and then we got the champ fighting somebody. Now, in the perfect world, Chandler loses. Charles fights Conor because somebody turns around and fights Conor. Okay, Islam's not going to turn around in December, and Conor's not going to be able to fight him in January. That's just not going to happen. Okay, now Islam turning around about March, right before Ramadan and stuff. I can see that happening. Still first quarter of 2025. But we can't even do all that prediction shit. Chandler and Oliveira's got to happen. Arman Sarukian and Islam's got to happen, and then Connor's got to be waiting. But As for anything that you would want to know, any questions that you have, and if I haven't answered them, there's a comment section down below. Go ahead and hit it up and let me know your thoughts on this video. Like it, subscribe it, share it to your people. Tell them to subscribe for more information. This is Texas Boy, and you in Texas Boy Studios. And I hope this video answered all your questions. And like I said, go down to the comment section down below and let me know what you think about it. Conor's on 2 fights left. He's trying to get out of here. He's trying to go do his own thing at BKFC, blow that organization up, let his people own that for a lifetime. And he did his family well. He did his family proud.